it's kind of interesting because that you're obviously familiar with Bryan Johnson. We talked about him before. Not Bryan Johnson, Liver King, Bryan Johnson, the billionaire vegan longevity dude. He has like this age tracker that tracks his chronological versus biological age. And he has like this leaderboard where people are also competing against each other for rate of aging. And this leaderboard is constantly shifting with all these people who are getting on board trying to optimize whatever biomarkers they can and, their exercise regimens, supplementation, diet, etc. And the biological clocks are kind of not founded in science necessarily, but is
it measuring telomeres? Like, what are they measuring?
It's like methylation. So it's as much as you could point to the results of it and it would show an outcome that reflects a rate of aging that is potentially slower than what your normal chronological aging would be, which is, like 1 year equals 1 year. You could be 0.6 per year if you were doing everything amazingly potentially. But still, that is highly manipulatable via like very, very acute changes. So if you do something, for example, if you're super healthy for even 1 or a few days, you could change the result of that plus minus like 10 years. So often, like I think there was one study where the same guys tried multiple different tests and each test had a different result based on just what they were doing at the time. Obviously, if it was a legit tracker, your age biologically would not shift 10 years every day. It would make no sense.
Right.
So anyway, this leaderboard, though, although the science is kind of not necessarily founded, it's cool to see the gamification of it where people are at least trending with things that are improving their state of like quality of life, performance, etc. As much as like the whole, like the problem with it obviously is when people start to monetize the age clocks and start to sell you supplements and shit around it to try and help your biological age drop faster or whatever. But people are tracking this stuff and getting meticulous about trying to beat each other. They're competing to get as healthy as possible, doing all the right things. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And he's constantly talking about how he's like, top ranked and fill in the blank metric.
Isn't he on a vegan diet as well?
Yeah, which is it's really interesting because like some of the stuff he does I think is great. Like he's putting out good information, but then sometimes it's like I think his total calorie intake is like 2,250. His protein is like barely 100 grams, which for your body weight is not that great. And then obviously the value of the protein from the vegan diet is questionable depending where you're getting it. And then on top of that, he's using testosterone to maintain his hormones as they're suppressed via the diet model he's on. So he has all these metrics that he touts as, check out my improvements in these biomarkers. And you'll say I'm top 0.01% in grip strength for my age or top 1% in liver markers or what have you. But then you'll be like, I'm top 1% in testosterone. And it's like,
yeah, you put it in there.
Yeah, like no shit, buddy. So
you could be higher than that if you want.
Yeah, you could manually change it tomorrow. Yeah. You could be top 0.01%. So, but overall the stuff he's doing is it's interesting, and people overall like the gamification of it I think is good to keep people, I don't know, make it more interesting and want to actually improve.
I wonder what led him to try the vegan diet, because if he's so meticulous about monitoring his nutrition, his supplement intake, he's got to know that the most nutrient dense form of food is meat.
Yeah, but he has like 7,000 supplements, so you can just make up for it.
Can you though?
I don't know, dude. It's I
wouldn't. Guess you kind of could.
I was definitely.
What he eats daily: nutty pudding, extra virgin olive oil.
So like my understanding is based on whoever he has on his team interpreting nutrition literature and drug literature as well will dictate his choices of what he's doing. And I think he also has like an ethical stance on meat consumption to some extent.
Oh, okay.
But
that makes sense.
He also claims that every calorie he eats has intent behind it to where it's driving like the highest value from a longevity perspective, which is questionable, obviously, when you're looking at like what the fuck are some of these meals, right?
Yeah.
It's just his dinner at 11 a.m.
Yeah. Man.
What? So what time does he get up?
1 a.m.? What the fuck?
So maybe he has one of those restricted calorie eating days.
He intermittent fasts for a big chunk of the day, and then he compresses it and makes sure it's far enough away from going to sleep to not mess with his sleep quality. And then he has apparently like one of the best Whoop sleep scores on Earth, supposedly, is what he claims, which, I wouldn't doubt is legit. But I mean, like, that's an example too of gamification, which is cool, in my opinion, is when you can track trends in, last night my heart rate elevated by X amount, which is abnormal. Why did it happen? Oh, maybe it was that I ate, this snack that's shitty for me 5 minutes before I went to sleep, and then my body temperature elevated. It was harder to get to sleep, and my heart rate's trying to, I'm metabolizing food while I'm literally trying to sleep at the same time. Like, there's stuff you can see in the feedback, which is cool because you wouldn't dig into it yourself otherwise necessarily. So when you have it in this nice, laid out, visually friendly format too, and it's giving you notifications, hey, tonight you should probably stop eating 2 hours before sleep, or what happened yesterday, your HRV is lower, and perhaps focus more on recovery. Like, that kind of stuff I think is cool. So
it is cool, and that is one of the aspects of these fitness trackers that some people have said can be an issue, because they have the same sort of addictive qualities that video games do, because you're chasing numbers. You're chasing steps per day, calories burned.
It could go off the rails for sure for some people.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, I know a lot of people who would never get 10,000 steps if it wasn't on a tracker of some sort.
Yeah. The trackers are we used to use, when we did the Sober October Fitness Challenge, we used the My Zones tracker.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
No.
You're wearing a chest strap, and it gives you points based on how much energy you exert and how much time you spend at like 80% max heart rate. So what we realized when we started doing this challenge, like the challenge was for someone to get the highest score by the end of the month. What we realized is, like, burning it out in the red, you can't go as far. So you can't do as many calories in a day, and you can't get as many points in a day. It's just too hard. Your body breaks down. But you can stay in the yellow for a pretty long time. And the yellow is like 140 beats per minute. And so it ramped up where we were getting a certain score, like 200 a day, 300 a day. And then one day, Ari realized you can watch movies on an iPad while you're on the treadmill, and you just keep going.
Isn't it weird how sometimes common sense stuff totally escapes you, and then all of a sudden you realize one day, I could have been fucking listening to music when I'm in the cold plunge or something?
Yeah. And well, instead of just straight suffering through the cardio, you're getting engaged with this film, and it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
So you're just breathing heavy while you're watching, Apocalypse Now or something. It's like got you riveted.